Hey there, Oakland Church family, and I'm so excited just to check in with you. I want to share with you a few thoughts that I had shared with our kids ministry leaders way back in the fall, and that's Isaiah 43, verses 18 and 19. This is God's promise of victory to the Israelites, and it's so true today, where God says, forget about all the old that I've already done. I'm going to do something new. Church, how true that is for us, where our habits and our routines have been disrupted, and we've had to establish new things, new habits. But we're brought back to this question of, well, how do we stick with it for the long haul? How do we keep on keeping on? Well, church, I have a few thoughts, and this certainly is not an exhaustive list, but my first thought is simply this. Let's not use our current situation as an indicator of still keeping on, of still doing these new things. Instead, we're reminded in 2 Timothy 1:7 that the Lord has not given us a spirit of fear or timidity, but of power, love, and a sound mind. What great words of encouragement from the Apostle Paul, that we are not given a spirit of fear, but instead when we step out in faith, God enables us to do whatever will honor Him. And so when we step out in faith, we can stick with doing the new thing that God has done in our lives and is still doing in us. The second thing I want to share with you is that let's replace our thoughts of worry with godly thinking. We're reminded by Paul in his letter to the Philippians. In Philippians 4:8, he says this. He says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is anything that is of excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Let's replace our thoughts of worry with godly thinking. When we look at this passage in its context, we see that the Philippian church they were facing so many issues and struggles externally as well as internally. And even today, it's easy for us to obsess over the urgent things and neglect the important things. We can easily see all of those things that are urgent, that are coming to us from outside the home, everything in our external atmosphere. Or perhaps that's going on internally, whether it's within the home with your family, or perhaps you're struggling with that yourself. But let's not neglect what's important. Let's focus our thoughts on godly thinking, and let's replace the worry with godly thinking. For you, that may be meditating on a hymn or a psalm, or perhaps it's going for a walk and meditating on the cascading beauty that God has placed within His creation. Whatever it is, let's replace the worry with godly thinking. And finally, I want to remind you of Peter's encouraging words from 1 Peter 5:7. And he simply says this, cast all your cares onto the Lord, for the Lord cares about you. Now you may be saying, well, Noah, I've already done that, so now what? Well, church, I want to share with you this. When we look at this in the context of Peter's letter, this was written to Christians everywhere, Christians who were exiled. Church, you're probably feeling exiled right now, where you've been away from family or friends, or perhaps you haven't been able to gather in person for a long time. So perhaps you're feeling exiled. Perhaps you're feeling like you've had to reestablish yourself, reestablish life as it is, as you know it. But I want to remind you to cast your worries onto the Lord, because you're not alone. The Lord loves you, He is with you, and He is for you. So church, let's cast our cares onto Him, for He cares for you. Finally, church, I want to encourage you and I want to remind you of what Solomon says in Ecclesiastes 4:6. Greater is it to have just a handful of rest than 2 fistfuls of labor. It's easy for us to continue to labor and labor and labor and always get to this feeling of burnout. And then that's where we start to feel stuck, like, I don't know if I can just keep going. But the Lord says, let's just make sure that we pause and take a moment to rest. Genuinely rest. So for you, maybe that is that you're a morning person and you're up before your whole family. Well, if you're that early bird, then be diligent of that time, steward that time, and make that time for you to rest. Get your daily bread. And if you're a night owl, then that's your time. Have that daily bread. So church, let's go ahead and let's remember that when we step out in faith, we can keep on doing these new things. Let's replace worry with godly thinking. And let's remember to cast our cares onto the Lord, because again, the Lord is with you and he is doing a new thing, an exciting thing. So church, get ready, because God's going to do something great. I'll see you later.